Hey Daily Dosers, my name is Emma Moss. I work at Thrive Youth, which is our high school ministry over at the San Marcos Escondido campus. Welcome back to our series, Choosing Your Summer Character. I'm super excited to dive in. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at John. And we're going to look at a couple things in his life, some of his writings. We're going to see how are we called to love? How are we called to exemplify God's love? Because it's a really hard thing to do. Loving is hard. It's difficult. I remember when I was a kid and I had this friend that was really difficult to kind of deal with. And sometimes I would do this, and I don't know if you're like this. It would be one of those moments where I just clench my fist and I'm like, I just need to try really hard. I just need to try really hard to love. And it only lasted about 5 minutes almost every time. It's like when I try in my own strength to do stuff, it doesn't work out. And it's interesting that we continue to try to do that over and over and over again when we know trying in our own strength does not work. So let's look at John. We're going to look at 1 John 4:19. Let's see what he says about love. This is what it says. We love because he first loved us. I'm going to say it again. We love because he first loved us. And some of you might be sitting there or driving to work or doing dishes or whatever you're doing. Some of you might be thinking, Emma, I've heard that verse since I was in Sunday school. Like, why are we bringing this up? I think it's less of just a statement and more of a how do we love? And here's what I mean by that. When we realize that he first loved us, when we realize that everything that we do, the way that we love people, the way that we treat people, every decision, every conversation, every reaction we have, it's not just a clenched fist, I'm trying in my own strength, but it's actually in response. It's a response to what he's already done for us. Romans 5:8 says, God demonstrated his love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for the ungodly. It wasn't my goodness. It wasn't me clenching my fist, just trying to do it all on my own. But John says the only reason we even have a capacity to love is because he loved us. So let's look at a couple places, a couple pieces of John's life where he kind of showcases how do we do that? How do we even love? And I think the first thing is that John was always tethered to the source. John was always tethered to the source of love, which was God, Jesus. He's one of the first disciples to say, yes, Jesus, I'll follow you. But I think even more than that, there's this moment at the Last Supper. Jesus is sharing his last moments with his disciples. And John and Jesus have this moment. And it showcases their just beautiful, close-knit relationship where John actually leans back and rests on the chest of Jesus. There's a close, intimate friendship, relationship, and trust between John and Jesus. And not only that, when everything gets hard, everything gets scary, Jesus is betrayed and arrested and ridiculed and beaten and then hung on a cross. John's one of the only disciples that stays at the crucifixion site. And I think it's because he knew the only way to do life and love was to be tethered to the source. So dosers, here's my challenge to you. Don't just clench your fist and try to do it all in your own strength. Don't just try to be more patient and try to be more compassionate. Stay tethered to the source. And remember, in everything that you do, every conversation, everything, every decision you make, you're living in response of the gospel. Every conversation, you're living and saying things in the response of what Jesus has already done for you. I hope this encourages you, and we'll see you next time.